Welcome everyone to Monday with Masami and parenthesis Chris. I think I'm going to start saying that. And this is December 21st. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's come to this day, kind of finally. Doesn't it feel like finally? Yeah. Um just feels like I just need to exhale deeply for the next 5 straight days. It's been a journey for all of us, hasn't it? And at the same time, I'm curious if any of you are feeling, I'm just giddy today. Like I'm literally so excited to be today being here right now on this crazy, amazing time in its history. So I'll just give you a little quick background last couple days. So much like shifts in my body. It was ridiculous. I was feeling old junk come out of me. I got really phlegmy. I got rashy, you name it. Liver pain, back pain, constipation, you name it. Because I think the old stuff is like one more time trying to come out. And we had in Colorado this tremendous wind, just blasting of the wind. And I know in the East Coast, I think you got a lot of snow and more cold fronts are coming, but it's finally stopped. And last night, neither of us could sleep, right? Is that right, Chris? I couldn't sleep at all. And because of the wind, but also just, you could just feel it. You can feel the shifts happening. And I woke up for the first time in days, just feeling elated. Is that the word? I guess, I was excited. And I could feel the shifts, and the new dawn of the era is coming or has started, and I totally feel it in my body. So I'm just wondering if any of you are feeling that, and I'd love to know that because it's certainly strong. And shifts in consciousness and excitement inside me it's really hard to contain. I am sure you can feel it through my voice and my smiles, but it's I feel joyful. I feel hopeful, even though I don't know what's ahead of me. I don't know what's ahead of all of us. There's just new sense of filled with love. I feel flooded with love. So I'm hoping that many of you are feeling that, as well as still not knowing. And then not knowing is totally okay and super exciting. So that's kind of where I'm at today. And solstice, happy solstice to all of us and all of you. It really is an important day to pause and give the chance of darkness and lightness some chance to enter into your life and then into your psyche. So please don't squander today. It is very important that you pause and as much as you can to maybe journal. And today particularly is important for you to just do some, what was my 2020 like? And what did I learn about myself? Because all of us went into the dark, dark place of who we are. And we've dealt a lot with your old patterns, old narratives, old ways of thinking, old ways of breathing, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you are still doing some deep work. This is not the work that you just do once. It's not the work that you just do a couple of months and call it good. It'll continue to unfold. Just because this is the beginning of the new era doesn't mean you just go black and white, right? There's a lot of transitional time that we will all be going through together. But there's kind of a sense of excitement's coming from the collective side to me, that I don't have to do this on my own. Does that make sense? Like I've always felt like I have to do so much on my own. And that's the shadow side of archetype that I constantly have dealt with up to this point. And I'm very hopeful now, but this archetype that I drag around like a heavy luggage, the airports are like, excuse me, you can't take that suitcase with you, kind of a suitcase. And the archetype for me is the child that was abandoned. And abandoned archetype is something that I've always dragged around. I am not wanted. I got to do this all by myself. Nobody's going to support me, that kind of thing. And today, I swear to you, everyone, I felt shifts. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to do this all by myself. We're all in this together collectively. And I get to share this, and there will be some of you that will have beautiful things that you can share with me that I get inspired by. Maybe you will get inspired by me. So, I just feel I belong here on this earth, and it's really fun. So, and as many of you know, it's the Great Conjunction. And, we haven't seen this happen visibly for 800 years. And maybe Chris can chime in and tell me when that was. Will you just chime in and tell us how important this is today for the...
Yeah, so probably several of you have followed this already, but the last time that this conjunction was that it happened was 1623. So it's been almost 400 years. But in North America, it wasn't visible the last time. So this is the first time in nearly 800 years that we've been able to witness this kind of cosmic event. So the two largest planets in the solar system lined up and looking like one giant Christmas star. So let's not take the gift for granted.
Yeah, and Cheryl, I'm really glad you're sharing that, because you said I went the other way. I've been massively depressed. I know I was too. Like, my whole body was shedding things. And you said depressed and apathetic about me, though very confident about the country. I don't have a clue what is going on to cause such yuck, apathy, energy. I know. I'm not saying it's totally cleared, but another thing that happened to me, I express a lot of things in my body, right? So I have to listen to my body. I showed it to Chris last night and the night before. I said to him, I said, look at my skin. I was like shedding. Like, there's this like crazy amount of skin coming off, like as if I went to a facial. Like, I didn't, but I had some facial done or something like that. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So for the last several days, been really rough, I have to say. Like, since I would say solar eclipse, that's been just jammed full of intensity inside me. And last night I finally was like, what? So I really scrubbed it and tried to get dead skin off of me. And then I had a ton of dead skin in my feet, heels. And I'm like, what is going on? So finally this morning, that's all gone. I woke up like, oh, baby skin, so I don't know. Basically, I'm shedding the 2020 and I'm shedding the old. And I would love for you to just kind of pause. And I love your comments, and I'll come back to some of them. But I would love for you to just pay attention just for a moment and review of dark age that we've been through, okay, collectively for centuries. And it's personally and it's collectively. And it's really shook the first chakra for me. I don't know about you guys, but first chakra, it's like, where do I belong? What is this thing called Earth? How do I navigate here? How do I really renew myself on this earth as a human body, and to still express spirits and souls coming through all of us? So I really had to go through how I react to things. Do I go to fight or flight? Or do I go into freeze mode? How do I react to certain situations? I had to learn so much about my old patterns. And it's been quite the several, I would say almost 8 months of dark night of the soul in terms of shedding my patterns. And, personally and collectively, so on a social level, systemic level, we we saw a lot of things were being revealed: income inequality, healthcare systems that are working or not working depending on where you lived, and bigotry and racism. And even, places like Japan, we have semi-homogeneous country, right? There are not a lot of different races living there, but they have a tremendous bigotry towards people that get sick. So I've read so many articles about just how mistreatments were happening to people who were diagnosed with COVID. So some of the families were not saying or going to the doctor because they were fearing that how they would be treated by their neighbors if they knew they had COVID. So, just revealing these old, ugly crud, old ugliness. And, I read a lot about domestic violence that happened, child abuse, educational system just can't hold this online learning, politically and government wise. How do they interact with us, or how's the government helping the income inequalities or people that are losing jobs, global warming, weathers, wars, and displacements of people and species. So we've really, really been seeing this in 2020. And what I would love for all of you to do is to continually look at, so what are some of the things that systemically I needed to be addressing and I hadn't? And I'll give you some examples. Things like chronic sinusitis. Okay, that's a systemic imbalance that a lot of people just live with it. But I think this is the year that many of you realize that you can't just ignore it, that you needed to start doing something about that. Or systemic issues in your blood pressure, or maybe medications needed to be changed, or the dosing needed to change, or certain supplements needed to be, switched out to something else, all that. And also, like I said, how did you respond to the list that I just gave you of the systemic, ugliness that we saw and we experienced and personally got involved in it in some areas as well? How did you respond to that? Did you go into fight or flight? Did you go into freeze mode? Did you just shut down, or did you become so addicted to news and got sucked into disinformation and misinformation? Just take a moment and realize, where did I go? How did I respond to these things? And you still have some time, we still have time to sort these things out. So it's important that you pause, particularly today, this week, to take a moment to get to know yourself a little bit more. And, when you're exposed to that kind of news or situations, how did you breathe? Did you take shallow breaths, or did you feel stuck? Did you feel nausea? How was your digestion? How were you eliminating things? So, and, I also saw a lot of people respond to these things by drinking more alcohol. Alcohol sales went up like first 3 months of COVID, of shutdown, like 400% of the sales from the last year, so tremendous amount of alcohol was consumed. And some of us maybe went to more sweets. Maybe some of us started baking like crazy. COVID-19 baking cookbooks were very popular, right? I mean, it's funny, and at the same time, it makes me a little bit concerned. So let's start to clean up your reactions. But maybe for some of you went into poetry writing. Maybe you went to creating music, because I heard so many amazing music being produced this year, just virtually. And that was amazing to watch and listen. And creativity for some of us really skyrocketed. So however way, just take a pause and notice. And I'm gonna pause for a moment so Chris can chime in, and we have a couple announcements as well, right? So
yeah, do you want to start with announcements?
Yeah, because it kind of ties in with what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, so the first, I don't know if you want me to, I'll just start and you jump in if you want to say more. We're going to be offering on Sunday the 27th a 2.5 hour gathering. We're calling it a gathering because it's going to be more communally oriented than just simply teaching. So we're going to be sharing a lot of things that we have found useful in helping us to navigate this time of transition, of balance and rebalance, to take a look at what's happening from the cosmic level with this conjunction, this change from our perspective to this new era. And so we're going to take some time to focus on that and really look at where we are right now. What do we need to leave behind us? What do we need to take on our journey as we move forward? And what are some things that we need to activate in ourselves to make that work? And so we're going to be doing a lot of sharing, a lot of reflecting. We're going to bring in some breath work and poetry. And we're also going to do a really rich loving kindness meditation that is all about reintegrating yourself. And then the final thing is we're going to do a ritual to welcome the ending of this year and then opening into the unknown of the next. So that's this Sunday. It's going to be at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So it's going to be in the morning for us here in North America. And we hope you can join us.
I hope so too. We hope so too. And we made it so it's like crazy cheap. We just decided it's $21 to celebrate 2021 that is coming. And it's a way that, if you feel like this Monday with Masami in parentheses Chris has been helpful, that's a great way to contribute to that also. So we would appreciate that. And I'm excited to share. There are about, so far, 5 to 7 that are coming up for me that I want to give you a list of what to prepare for 2021. And it's pretty specific. So there will be some physical stuff, financial stuff that I want to share with you too. So you'll get the list too. So hopefully we'll come and join us for that. And I wanted to kind of go into asking all of you if any of you did the homework from last week. Gail, did you do your homework? All right. I'm going to see if any of you did them. Yes. Okay, so I want to hear it. So I will remind you what the homework is. The homework was, okay. So we went through the 4 types of Avidya. Okay, so for those of you that didn't come on the show last week and maybe didn't listen to the replay, Avidya, maybe Chris can explain Avidya better than I can, but it's basically something that holds you back, really, to moving forward in 2021 also. And the first one was the ego or the attitudes, like I'm the best and, nobody else is better than I am, or my country's the best and you're not, or because I grew up this way, so therefore I know better than you do. That kind of attitude will be the first one, right? The next one was the attachments or beliefs. This is when I was talking about things like attachments to the outcome. Like I want things to work out this way, and then I believe it this way, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm not going to do it. Or attachments to how it used to be. Used to be good old days kind of thing, or attachments to, well, this is how I felt when I encountered these situations before, so I don't want to do it again because that was horrible for me, so I know it's going to happen again, right? And rejecting the unknown and unwanted. We talked about culturally, right? Certain cultures you don't understand, so you kind of reject it, or certain way of thinking, you reject it. So even politically, we've seen this. You reject the other side because you don't know, or they don't listen to you, or we don't listen to them. And there's a lot of unknown is a fear making, right? So we've talked a lot about that too. And then so that the fourth one takes you to the fears and anxieties, because fears and anxieties are a little bit more hidden inside us, but we're fearful of trying new ways, fearful of not knowing. And I think, like I said, this time of the year, we cling to a lot of prediction stuff. We say, okay, who's got the predictions? Okay, who's going to tell me what's going to happen in the next next year and da da da. You know, and I've said to you, all of you, I feel it in my body what needs to be and what will be very, very beneficial for us to start doing in the bodies. But I don't want to go down that road of trying to predict something that is absolutely unknown to, I would say, all human beings. But I am very hopeful. I'm really trusting this process and showing up to this moment. So I said that last week too, is that I'm more interested in this moment, right? So some of the questions I asked, and you know, I will go through some of the answers, some of your people that have done a homework. I would love to hear you. But I asked, what is it in my life that I'm still hiding or hiding from? What are my beliefs, behaviors, patterns, outmoded archetypes, relationships, and lifestyle patterns that I'm hiding so that they will not be found? And one of them I just explained to you about me is the concept of abandoned child. You know, comes up a lot. And I think for my siblings, that's a big one too, my brother in particular too. So we talk about that a lot, but I totally feel a shift in this. So this has been great for me to work on this myself on my Avidya. And the other question, some of the questions I asked are, what is it that I'm tired of hiding? What am I ready to leave behind? Abandoning the game of hide and seek, so I can participate in the game of life and be seen for truly who I am. So I would love to hear some of the videos that you might have worked on, things that will hinder you to go forward in your life. What are some of the stuckness that you've been experiencing? So, oh, thank you. Thank you for signing up, Pieta. And so, Lynn, do you want to get on the call if you feel comfortable and share? And I would love to hear Cheryl too. I'm going to ask Lynn to, okay, there you go, Lynn.
Hi.
Hey, Lynn. Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Well, what I had last Monday, what I wrote down was loss of control, and it was all fear. It was a fear of loss of control, fear of never-ending agony, sickness of some kind, not being safe, and just actually in danger of anything. So that's what I worked on. So then I just really started writing out the opposite of each thing, and where it was in my life. And I have a lot of writing I did, and then just a lot of breathing that I did. And like, you know, I'm trying to get you back up on the screen, but there you are. Yeah, it wasn't easy because I lowered a medication, you know, like, you know, and had a really horrible withdrawal, and had to up that medication back. And it really put me into knowing that I didn't have to do it perfectly on a schedule, since I've been lowering it since March, and that my body was just not ready to go further down in the amount. And it's like, it reminds me of like Einstein saying, you know, the frequency that you make a problem in is not the same frequency that your brain uses in order to get the solution. And so in the state that I was in, I wasn't even able to realize, well, I could have done less of a dose every other day for a while. You know, and I'm doing it on my own, and I'm here alone. And the good news is that I'm feeling much better. And I know in 2021, that's going to be the year to completely come off of it. And I'm okay with another year. It's fine. And I didn't overeat to feel better. I haven't talked to the old boyfriend in months. A lot of the stuff that I used to do to feel better, it's just not there anymore. It's not activated anymore. And it feels today I felt really, really joyful and very optimistic. And I'm here in LA, and I've only occasionally tuned into news, and I turn it right back to whatever else that's uplifting, because it's just, there's a lot of extremes going on over here.
Yeah, that's a lot, Lynn. And then I know you and I will be talking this is it Wednesday, so it'll be good that we can go into it a lot more. But I know that you brought up a really good point, so I'm gonna go into that direction. Is that okay, Lynn?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I love the fact that you brought up this fear of sickness of some kind forever. Yeah. And I just want to talk about that because this is something I've been actually kind of writing it up, and I was going to maybe do some course on it or something at some point, or share it with all of you. But there's this sick of being sick, or I'm going to find something that I'm going to be sick from for the rest of my life. That is the culture that we've created, right? Mm-hmm. That is the allopathic medicine's model, okay? Because the allopathic medicine model is always going to look for something they can label you with, okay? And if they can't label you with, then they will give you an umbrella terms, right? Like MS, like I received, or fibromyalgia, right? It's basically just like, I don't know what's going on, so I'll just give you something. But it creates a vicious circle, because every time you have some kind of symptoms, they will look for something, and then we expect the doctors to give us some kind of an answer. So then that leads us to looking for more names. Do you see that? So it's like, it's a crazy rut that we've gotten ourselves stuck in. And I think, I get it, because sometimes I wonder, when do I ever go through a month of not having all kinds of symptoms? And I don't. Every week I got something going on. But I've learned to just be like, it's just my body unfolding, and God knows how many layers I got inside me, and it could be not just my lifetime. I have women in my family members that have really suffered, particularly in the Japanese side. The oppression, the treatment that my grandmother went through, and my aunts and my mother, and so there's like layers I'm shedding, so I stopped looking for ways to label myself, or looking and for what am I sick from next time or this time, because it's like weather to me. You can't expect the weather always be sunny. Like that, the Truman Show. Truman Show always has the same weather patterns, right? And in order for him to leave that world, he had to go through a storm, And at times we feel like a storm is coming, or that we are in the storm constantly, But we can't expect the weather to stay exactly the same every day. That would be a very boring life. So know that we're all stuck in this allopathic way of looking at bodies. And so many of us bring the allopathic way of thinking towards the sessions with me also. And then towards naturopaths, towards chiropractors, functional medicine. We bring the same ideology into that. What I mean by that is that I would get questions like, okay, well, I have these symptoms. What are some of the supplements I can take? And so instead I say to them, no, let me explain the physiology and how we can get to the cause of it, and we can get to where the spring water begins, so that your pond doesn't constantly get poisoned. So you don't have to keep buying the frogs or the fish from the pet store or the frog stores. Okay. And so you can put the fish and frogs back into the pond because they keep dying in there. Instead of that, I want to go walking up the stream with you to find where the water begins, so that we can clear things out from there. And it takes time to hike up there. We don't know exactly what to expect there. Maybe we don't have all the equipment. But I have to say to several of the clients just already in the past couple of days that I said to them, I said, what I do isn't to just give you a list of supplements that will replace your medications or replace what you've been doing. That's not what I do. I want to get to the spring. I want to get to the cause of it. And that requires time, patience, love, and kindness, and also know that you're enough in this moment. You're just perfectly enough in this moment. And maybe Chris can read that one quote about the love. Remember that one that you shared with me? The blockage of not receiving love. Course in Miracles one. I would love for you to do that.
Yeah.
But let me finish this. So you're doing really well, Lynn. Okay. You're such a courageous human being. Okay. And this goes out to everyone that takes medications for your depression or antidepressants. Okay. Please take about 2 years in the process. If you are going to decide to lower the dose on that, work with the doctors, work with people who can help you, okay? Work with people like me that have done this with other clients. And I'm not promoting you to get off of it because this is something you have to discuss with the doctor that prescribed it. But it takes about 2 years to come off of it. And while Chris is reading the quote, I will grab the book and show everyone which one you may want to read. Okay.
Okay, so this quote is something that came up for me just recently, and it speaks a lot to what's going on right now. We have this theme of cosmic hide and seek, and I just want to mention one thing about that is that in this game of hide and seek, what's happening is, if you're not familiar with the story, this is a very old story that goes back to ancient times in India before it was Hinduism and Buddhism and all of that. It's a very ancient story. And the idea is that the divine consciousness, so whether you want to call it God or spirit or self, essentially needed to have something to do in order to be known. And so it devised this game of hide and seek where it created the world that we see, the universe that we see and can touch and feel. And it made it of itself. And so in a sense, it hid from itself. And it began this game of trying to find its own self in that creation. And so that's what we're really pointing to here is, what are we looking for that we already have? What are we looking for that's already in us, and which we're never going to find if we're looking for it outside of ourselves? So this quote is actually a quote from the Course in Miracles. And it says, your task is not to seek for love. Okay, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So I'll read that one more time. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it.
Thank you, Chris.
And can I just say, Cheryl was still attempting. There was some kind of glitch happening. She still has her mic open, and I think she had something to say.
Yeah, I would love to. And
Cheryl, if you want to just double check that you're not muted on your side, you're not muted on Zoom. So if you want to try speaking again, we'll try to bring you back on.
And yeah, Chris will type that quote for you.
You can actually find it if you click the link to our Sunday program, because it's on the page right there. If you click the link I posted up a few minutes ago on the chat.
And last thing I wanted to say, Lynn, is that I just wrote this. You know, the game of hide and seek is that if you seek illness, then we won't find health, is what I wrote down right now. If you're continuously playing the hide and seek, that you're seeking constantly for something is not right, something that I'm not doing right, or illnesses, then you will never find health. And the word health means wholeness, right? And the wholeness comes from knowing that you're enough, just as you are. Okay. And the books that I recommend to you, and it's a little bit of a heavy read, okay, but it's called A Mind of Your Own, okay, and Kelly Brogan. Okay, yeah, thank you. Some of you is giving me thumbs up. Yeah, so she got married to Sayer G also. So I think it was this year or last year. So anyway, this is a great book. She's got a second book, but this is a good one to start with. Basically, take your time. Mind altering drugs takes time to come off of, and you cannot, Lynn, please don't feel defeated. Don't feel badly. The side effects came back up and you felt like, oh my God, the fear's taking over me. I'm no good. I've tried so hard and I'm failing. I'm sure those feelings came up, but you're not. You're not failing at anything. You're beautiful. You're enough. Okay. And let's take time with this journey together. All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for sharing that. And I look forward to talking to you this week. So yeah, and then the book is A Mind of Your Own by Kelly Brogan. So, and let's see, I wanted to share really interesting things that Chris and I were talking about. And this is going to come up in more of a public forum later on in January. But I started thinking about, this 7B course that I'm working on, and why am I intuitively being guided to do these Bs, like why breath, why brain, why bio, and why boundaries, and so on and so forth. And we had just this like an incredible moment on, wasn't it yesterday, Krista? I was writing this down because, it was a very intuitive download for me to talk about these. And why is this so important that we do this in our body? And so I started thinking about breath, right? So I wanted to put it in the terms of earthly matter, like what is going on Mother Earth? What's going on Mother Gaia? And wind, like what we were experiencing, like crazy wind. We get some windy days, but this was pretty incredible. And the atmosphere is changing, and then we're having breathing issues as well inside our bodies. So I started to think about so much of this epidemic issues of breathing issues and COVID-19 really impacting our lungs and our breathing. When you look at the atmospheric air and the wind, there's so much pollution in the air also. So that's part of the connection that I was making. And then the second one was this so much burning that is going on this earth, so much fire, just incredible amount of fires that happen in California and Colorado as well, and different states. The western states are burning every summer, every fall, and in California, wildfires pretty much all the time now. And I started to think about how's that tied to the brain. And I started thinking, so many of the people that I work with, their brain is on fire. What that means is that they're having brain inflammation. So you name it, Alzheimer's, dementia, ADHD, ADD, kids that are having learning issues, any kind of brain-oriented things are even like anxiety, depression, mental health. So I started thinking that's fire in the brain. So I started thinking, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm supposed to talk about the brain. And then I started to go into the liver and the bile. And I started to think about, oh my God, the pollution, right? So the congestions that we're seeing in the water systems, the municipal waters that are so toxic, people that are getting extremely sick drinking water that should be nourishing to who you are. And so there's so much congestion. So this goes into the air too, but there's, ocean that is microplastics everywhere, jet fuels, debris everywhere, the pollutants, heavy metals and smoke and so on and so forth. That's congesting our bile. And the last one, I created the other one, so I just do the 4. But the 4th one, the boundaries. This is when I started to think about the displacements of species and people who are getting pushed out of their countries because of the global warming, as well as the war, and as well as the greed. So the displacements are happening, and that impacts our boundaries inside us too. So I just wanted to share those things because they were such an amazing, I knew that this is why I was doing them, but I wanted to be very clear why these 4 Bs and now going into 7 Bs. So, and with that, I want to let you guys know that I've been officially asked to be as a part of the Shift Network faculty member. So I'm part of it now, and they've asked me to create the 7 weeks course for them, and it'll start mid-February. So please stay tuned. And, if some of you are not getting my email replies right away, that's because I'm constantly working right now. So I haven't been able to respond right away, but that's what's happening. Yay. So anything, Chris, you want to add? Cheryl, I got your message, so I'll read it. Okay. Cheryl, you wrote to me privately, so I don't know if I should share this, so will you let me know? Okay, Chris, you have any comments that have come in?
Yeah, there's just been, first of all, a lot of people are saying congratulations to you. Yay, Masami. A lot of things like that. So.
Okay, and then I'm going to read Cheryl's message that came to me. It says, I've been doing so well on changing and not hiding and being health. I am bumping up on what I think must be past life blocks. It doesn't not fit what I want. It's with flow with money, flow with overwhelming, massive hoarding. I want to be done with. Flow of bile. Yes, I was just going to say, you got to keep working on your bile. That's what the financial stuckness come from the clinical setting that I've been working with people. The particularly financial blockages come from your liver and gallbladder stagnation. I think it's past life survival terror. I feel that too. I can't afford to work with Masami one-on-one, as I know would help. Any tips and direction would be so profoundly appreciated. This is the first time I felt I could not go through anything on my own power and intention and faith. Well, yes, you can, but you just need a little bit of support, right? Suzuki Roshi said, he was the Zen guy that brought the Zen teachings to the United States. He said, all of you are perfect. All of you are perfect, and all of you are enough. And you could work on yourself a little bit. Okay, something like that. I'm, not saying it exactly, but all of you are perfect, but you could work on yourself a little bit. And that little bit comes from, getting a little bit of hints or support from, whether from me or other teachers or friends, families, and your guides and angels, and then your, all your support systems. Okay. But I would say, Cheryl, that it's definitely liver and gallbladder. So I really need you to look into how do I flush the liver and gallbladder. And some of the, things I've talked about are introducing bitters to your body. So maybe get tinctures of bitters and put it in your 4 ounces of water and drink it before your lunch and dinner. That could be really good. And then also taking some bile producing supplements that are going to be very helpful in terms of, because as you get older and as you have stressors, you're going to produce less bile. So you want to support the bile productions. So using things like phosphatidylcholine, one of my go-tos, taurine is great. Inositol is great. And like I said, bitter foods are fantastic. Doing ginger, turmeric, sea salt. And also, Cheryl, when you have liver toxicity, that's when you need to definitely look into your stomach acid. So make sure you're taking plenty of stomach acid so you can digest. And let me just tune in. But, another thing that you would really, really benefit from is to, and Cheryl, you keep doing the private, so it's change it to everyone. And then that way everybody can see. Bitters, yeah, so Swedish bitter, liver bitters, digestive bitters, any of those are fine, but I like the digestive bitters the best, okay? And you can find that in like a natural food stores. So digestive bitters. And you're right, Cheryl, you asked me that question last time as well, and I forgot to answer that, so that's good. And hold on, Chris, one last thing, Cheryl, is get yourself the, what's that oil that I use on myself every night, Chris? The
Brahmi oil?
No.
Sesame oil.
Oh, no.
Castor oil.
Castor oil. Oh my God, I use all
She
three.
uses, I could keep going.
I use like 5 oils every night. Yes, castor oil packs. Get going on that, Cheryl. Okay. Please put it over your liver and gallbladder. And you can even put it on your lungs as well. Okay. So that should be very, very helpful. Okay. Chris, I know you have things to say.
No, I was just wanting to go back. It was something that Len said that made me think of this. It was the mention of Einstein and needing to solve our problems from a different mind than the one that created it. And this is so important right now, this question about hide and seek, or even if we're talking about it in terms of seeking and finding. It is so important that we go back and actually look at where we're stuck, look at the problems that we feel like we're experiencing in our lives, and really ask ourselves, why is it there? What is causing it? And even more important, once you start to recognize why it's there and what's causing it, what am I willing to do about it? Am I even willing to do something different about it? Those kinds of questions are really important, because so much of what happens is if you're in this time of transition like we are right now, it's very easy to feel the unsettling and then feel like you've just had the rug pulled out from underneath you. You know, you're just spinning and you're disoriented. And so confusion is a really big part of this. And I was reminded of a line that is a favorite of mine, but it has to do with confusion and recognizing that confusion ultimately has to do with not paying attention. Okay? This is a very important thing, is it's not paying attention to what you need to attend to first. Okay, so that's where confusion really comes from, not paying attention to what you need to attend to first. So it's about really understanding what is priority and what isn't. And something that Masami and I have talked about several times, I don't remember the last time we said it on a call, but we've talked about this idea that the word priority in English originally was a singular thing. There was priority, just one priority. There is something that comes before all others. But we've gotten into the habit now of talking about priorities, plural, as if everything can compete for our attention at any given time. And that's where confusion really starts to kick in, is where we don't recognize what it is that we need to pay attention to, that we have to give that attention to first. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out, because so much of this time is going to come down to this feeling of confusion and having an idea of how to put your foot forward.
Yeah, and this is why this time of the year, Chris and I go into a very quiet time generally. I don't know, this year might be a little bit tough. There's so much coming at us, but if you don't create stillness and pauses, you don't really know what is your priority. Where do you even begin? And this is when you will notice in your kitchen or the cupboards that you have piles of supplements. Okay, that is another way that you don't know what you're prioritizing. And so many of you that have worked with me know this, that I prioritize your digestion first. If you can't digest life, what is the point for the rest? Okay, so what I see is with supplements is the same thing. I will go through each, the person's supplements, and I get no's on a lot of them, or we'll just take pause for a while, because if you can't digest them, why are you taking them? Okay, that's number one. You have to go to the digestion. Same thing with information, right? And same thing with all your practices. Are you able to digest the things we're saying? Are you able to digest the information you're plugged into? You will forever be looking for information, and there are plenty of it. In the era of the internet that we are in and we live in, and I love them for, I can look up anything. I don't even have to go to the library anymore. However, I have to be careful not to get overwhelmed by that, because I'm going to get bloated and gassy and nauseous, and I'm not going to sleep well, and I don't recycle the information and take it in to assimilate and absorb into who I am. So it's the same thing with supplements, information, foods, relationships, and so on and so forth. So take a moment and say, am I digesting this? Am I digesting being alive right now? And if that is being stagnant, it's going to show up in your digestion as well as you won't be able to sleep very well, because you're not going to be able to process it in your brain. So that's going to show up on your other things in your life. Okay. So think of ways that you can start to say, okay, this is my priority right now. I am going to not multitask for the next 5 minutes. So in Zen practice, where I was trained with, they say that, just do dishes right now. Just do dishes right now. One plate at a time, one bowl at a time. And I'm one of those people that don't use dishwashers. People think I'm nuts, but I like to wash my own dishes. Okay. I use them. I want to wash them because I'm grateful that the dish has served me. And people think I'm like, they're dishwashers. Why don't you use them? Well, I didn't grow up with dishwashers. Okay. In Japan, nobody had dishwashers. Nobody even had a dryer, like washing machine dryer. So everything had to be, hung outside and so on and so forth. So one clothing at a time, one bowl at a time, one knife at a time, one fork at a time. See if you could do that even once a week, that you just do your own dishes. Like, hopefully, maybe that might be helpful for your, practice. And I will share, a couple more things on the Sunday gathering, but I think there are a lot of practices that I learned from my grandfather that is just still serving me. A grandfather that was born in the 1800s, even though I didn't know him that much, it's been a great journey to relearn some of the things that he taught my mother, and I'm learning it again. But it's really, we can only do one thing at a time. We really cannot multitask, by the way. Okay. Everything will become just mediocre. So Cheryl, this is a message that I'm getting from the universe for you right now. And I'm so excited that this just came. So I want to share. This was years ago. This was like over 20 years ago. I was taking a yoga therapy course, and then I was taking a yoga nidra course at that time. And I would fall asleep. Like every time a yoga nidra course starts and then he's teaching it, this guy from India was teaching it, I just fall asleep. So I decided to bring a tape recorder, because I'm taking this course and I'm just falling asleep. So I thought, this is a waste of time. So I started recording the yoga nidra that he was teaching us. Okay. And then at the end of these courses, I went up to him and I asked him, I said, listen, I know you can see that I fall asleep immediately. What is going on and what should I do? And that moment he asked me, he said, so what do you do? And at that time I was like finishing up my master's program. I was teaching linguistics to a group of Japanese doctors here in Colorado. I was teaching multiple yoga classes, Pilates classes. I was teaching, I was doing, and I was doing wedding flowers. I know those of you don't know about this about me is I'm a florist. I was a florist, and I used to do a bunch of wedding flowers. And I was a sushi chef too. Like I've done just about everything you could think of. Okay. Anyway, so I was doing at least like 5 jobs at that time. Okay. Trying to pay my student loans and things like that. Right. And he goes, well, that isn't that interesting. He goes, we're all given a basket of prana energy. And he said, but if you put 25% here and then 30% there and then 15% over there and then, something else here. Do you see, in his heavy Indian accent, he's like, do you see that not a single thing is going to amount to anything? And I thought, oh my God, you're right. Yeah. So I don't know why I'm sharing that with all of you. And I don't know why that's a message for Cheryl, but I think you needed to hear that. Okay. So start looking at the basket and say, how do I allocate at least the majority, so 51% towards something you really want to get done or really want to focus in on? And stop allocating to so many things. Stop signing up for all these things and putting all these energy everywhere else, because at the end of the year, the Indian dude will say to you, that's why it doesn't amount to anything. Okay, so my preachiness needs to go. So Chris, I hope.
Yeah, I was just going to say to that, it was reminding me, so I just came off of a silent Vipassana retreat that was a week long, and it just ended on Friday. And it brought up a lot of these same themes. And it's important to connect back to what Masami is saying here. And it's this idea, I forget who she was that said this quote, but it was, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. Whether it's washing dishes or getting dressed or speaking, whatever it is, the quality of attention, the quality of care, the quality of mindfulness that you bring to each moment, whether it's dishes or Ariel mentioned laundry, whatever that thing is that you can sink into, it really matters how you are with it. And if you start finding that you're feeling disconnected from the details of your life, try to come closer to that boring stuff. These little details, these little chores. Try to really do. There's another Japanese teacher, Dainin Katagiri was his name, and he talked about taking care of each moment. And so that's another way to think about this, to put it together with how you do anything is how you do everything. Take care of each moment. How can you care for and love each thing, each task, each person, each little note that you have to write, each chore you have to do? Because you'll find that if you can do that some of the burden of it and some of the painfulness or the energy sucking quality that it might have really starts to go away all by itself. You don't even have to try. So that's all I'm going to say on that point. And if we have time, I might share that poem that I mentioned, the lost poem.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening to my rant. Okay, Cheryl said, how do we address that? I'm not understanding.
Past life stuff.
Oh, past life stuff, though. Cheryl, I say, this is what I would say to you. You can't address your past life unless you address what's here in the moment. Because you have to have the energy that comes from now that can address that. So always address what's going on now. Because past lives are to be addressed, but also you're manifesting that somehow right now. So get to the source of it right now. Source of it may not be your past lives. And you can also ask the past lives to sort it out on its own. Like, stop dragging it into my life. You get to say that too, okay? And I get it. I had to work with the 2 really major past life issues that really damaged, or not damaged, but really challenged my life. Let's put it that way. But that I did that because I got healthier. I was able to address it because I had metabolic energy to address it. So you have to have energy to address past lives. You got to have energy to sort things out. You have to have plenty of sleep and digesting abilities in order to address these things. So I hope that's making sense. So focus on today. What can you do today for you that will make you wake up tomorrow morning a little more refreshed? Just only focus on that, okay? And don't use up so much of your energy towards what was in the past, okay? What's today that you can do now that you can wake up refreshed tomorrow, okay? So I hope that's helpful, okay, Cheryl? And yeah, let's finish with your poem. And this is our last Monday with Masami this year. So let's make sure we have time to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas, okay?
Yeah. So, and I'm going to mention too that we're going to do a meditation that has something to do with that question about taking aspects of your past life. Let's just talk about it, past life in the past tense, and integrating that into right now. So that will be one of the things that we're doing on Sunday. And with that, did you want to say something to that?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say the past life, you know, Cheryl, I've talked about this a lot, but it's stuck in your bile though. The past life gets stuck in liver a lot. So definitely you want to do the liver stuff that I've recommended. Okay. And yeah, let's.
Yeah. Okay. So this poem is one, I want to frame it a little bit before I read it. And to do that, here we are on the winter solstice 2020. This has been an absolutely topsy-turvy year. There's so many words we could use to describe this year. But whatever it was for you, I want you to really listen to what this poem is saying. And the origin of this poem, it's credited to the poet David Wagoner. He's the one that wrote it as a poem. But he credits a Native American elder who he didn't name as being the source of this little piece of wisdom. So this comes from a longer lineage than just a book of poems. And I want you to hear it in the context of right now. How are you feeling? How are you dealing with this day of the longest dark as we come to a standstill and we feel all of that unknown ahead of us? Okay, so the name of this poem is Lost. Lost. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here. Wherever you are is called here. And you must treat it as a powerful stranger, must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen, it answers. I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, just saying, here. No two trees are the same to Raven. No two branches are the same to Wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. So stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you.
Thank you, Chris. That's for you, Cheryl. stand still. Okay. Just be in this moment because you're not lost. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being you and all of you, like all that you are. I love all that you are, okay? Just you are enough. And some of you are more than enough. So please know that. Please celebrate the Christmas with the lots of lights, candles, and joy and music. I love Christmas. You know, I love, love, love Christmas. And I'll just tell you briefly, quickly, why I love it. I grew up in a southern island of Japan. Not a single person in my home celebrated Christmas when I was growing up. And my dad, this white dude, decided to put live Christmas tree every year. So I ended up living in a forest because he would plant the Christmas tree every year. And he would put this giant lights everywhere outside. So the neighbors will come, they will be jumping over the fence to look at it. And it was extremely special for me. And so that led me to believe in Santa. That's why I have Mr. Santa here. I believed in Santa till I was literally 15 years old, because not a single person came up to me and said there wasn't a Santa. Oh no, there is a Santa. But nobody said that to me. So that has helped me because, you know, I asked my dad, this was right before I left to come to the US. He said, you know, we have to send you away and we have to tell you something. And he said, you know, there's no Santa. And I said, so I just started crying. And I said, does this mean there's no tooth fairy either? So I was 15 years old. But I think that fed my spirit. I believe in angels and guides and past lives and energy fields, and I believe in Santa and tooth fairy, and I believe in all things are possible. So I hope you could feel some of that from me, because I believed it and I still believe it, and no one can take that away from you. So be joyful, jolly, believe, have faith, and trust that you are meant to be here. You chose to be here now. Be well. So we'll see you. Some of you will see you next Sunday, and some of you I will see you next year. So Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone. Namaste.